Looks like everything's working this week. Last week was a bit of a nightmare. Had to come in 15 minutes late. See people arriving in the chat. Yeah, last week we had to come in 15 minutes after because of technical difficulties. So far, so good today. But I guess it wouldn't be living without all these problems. All these problems make things recognize a couple of people in there. A couple of regulars joining us. Just about 3 more minutes or so, and we'll get started. GI80 Mark says, true. How do you learn without facing problems? That's true. How do you live without facing problems? If everything was always really good, life would be boring. Because you wouldn't know how bad it could be. Two more minutes, everybody. Or a little more than 2 more. Like 2.5 minutes. Pavel says, problems are a part of life. And in Pavel's case, more money, more problems. Pavel says, no money problems too. Yes. Well, they say money can't buy happiness, but you're right. One of my most unhappy moments have been when I've been very broke. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Just hang on a few more, half a minute or so. And we'll get the ball rolling. All right, let's start the show. All right, everybody, we're back. My name is Abe Duque, and welcome back to my Friday production basic show here on 343 TV, brought to you by 343 Labs. 343 Labs is a school. We teach production. We hold your hand while we teach you production. Come and visit our website, 343labs.com. And maybe check our schedule, and maybe you take a production, a sound design, a mixing and mastering class with us. We have classes starting all the time. Anyway, welcome back. I'm so happy to be here today. I'm extra happy this week because so far, knock on wood, is this wood? No technical problems. The last few weeks, technical problems have abounded. Last week, I couldn't come in until maybe 15 minutes after the show should have begun because of all sorts of streaming issues. And before that, I had problems with my internet. I had to have people come from the cable company, internet provider company here, and switch out my equipment and do all sorts of things on my lines. But I'm here, I'm back, and I'm very happy to report we should be on track today. And yeah, everybody's getting into the chat. I see all the common folk here, or not the common folk, but the people that are here all the time. That's what I mean by common, not that you're not exceptional. People like John H. Kingston III, and Martin Crockett, and Pavel, of course, and TI80 Mark. First time I see you here. Maybe maybe you just haven't written in the chat before. Let's see who. Emmanuel says he loves the modular rack. Yeah, I have a sweet spot for modular gear. It takes a little to get going with, but really kind of rewarding in the end. It's a really nice mission to grow on. Enigmatic Onion is here. Let me see if I'm missing anybody. Did I say hello to Martin Crockett and Simple Sam? Of course, can't omit Simple Sam. Simple Sam's always here. Let's see, and what else do we have? Mighty K. Don't want to miss F-Stop. I don't want to miss anybody. So if I missed you, I'm sorry. It's just hard to manage the show and watch the chat and look at everything at the same time. So as we were doing the last couple of weeks, well, this is the second week for this series, this current series. This is the week. Last week we started working on some vocals, and if you remember, and I'll just switch straight up to the my Ableton screen here. If you remember, last week we had these vocals of a track that I had done a few years ago, many more than a few years. Oh, Eric is here. Good to see Eric here. A track that I had done, and I had some kind of scratch vocals that Virginia, the singer that had sent me, and they were raw, and they're not meant for much. But I was, she was just trying out certain things, and it was a fun little take, and I used it to kind of just like work with some concepts. And once again, just to review, well, this is a copy I did later. Let's close this for a second, and I just want you to keep focused on this purple one here. So what we had, and I'll take the chain from last week off, is we had this track that's playing, and this is one of my tracks, and then her vocals should come in here. These are non-processed dry vocals, and I'll play them a little bit, and then I'll show you what happened with the chain that we put on, and I'll review what we did. Oh, Abe Paul is here, of course. Abe Paul is. I wasn't trying to avoid you, Abe Paul. So as you can see, they're kind of quiet takes here, and they get progressively louder, and to the point where the dynamics are very off of what's happening here. And what we did was we added all of this. So you listen to.
I never thought I had to. I never thought I would.
Just let you listen a little more, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we had there, just a little bit of review.
I never thought I had to.
Okay. So basically what we did was just a review, just for you guys to remember what to do when you're working with vocals. We did a bit of reductive EQ. We removed the low frequencies that we really didn't need in this, and we did a cut at about 62 hertz, so not an aggressive cut. I mean, I could have gone a little higher, but we really just wanted to get rid of low frequencies that we didn't need. Then we looked for some resonance. And resonance, remember, are frequencies that we just can't use because they build up too much for their own good. We took these resonances and we brought them down. We found, and remember, the way to recognize a resonance is to listen for the ringing. The ringing will kind of tell you when there's a resonance happening. And found a couple of them here, one at around 415 hertz and the other one at 738 hertz. Went on to the next stage. Usually at this point, I also check for sibilants. Sibilants is frequencies that happen a little bit higher, somewhere maybe, above 3K and all the way up to maybe up to 12K. In this section here, we're very sensitive to it. So I looked for that, and there wasn't that much. And these are like the S's and the T's that are very shrill and make you stop wanting to listen to something. Usually, they may be here, but they may not be here. But later with enhanced EQ, they might appear. So I then started enhancing the EQ a bit. Actually, I didn't do that. I went into some compression, and we did a pretty interesting thing here where we added 3 compressors in a row, and using a technique we talk about called series compression. Series compression is using 2 or more compressors to get the job done that you might think of only giving to one compressor to do. So what is the job in this case of compression that we're doing? We are trying to make the curtail or limit the dynamic range of how loud and how quiet this take is, for the reason of being able to fit it into the backing track. So there were questions last week about how, isn't it kind of a loss to like limit all the dynamic range? What if you want, to have more dynamics because that's the way it expresses, the music expresses itself? Yeah, that's true. We do want to preserve that, but we have to balance that against the fact that we have to make it be intelligible against the backing track that we're playing. So with that, we have to make these sacrifices of dynamic range curtailment in order to make it so that we can hear what the track, what the voice is trying to say across the recording. If the backing track weren't there, we could, if this was meant to just be an a cappella recording, we could keep it as quiet and as loud as possible as long as it didn't clip, just for enjoyment reasons, because then you could, really take advantage of listening to that. Like maybe if you go to the opera, you might hear that happening when the opera singer gets really loud or gets kind of quieter, and it's meant to bring you in and to draw you into that. In this case, we want to make it fit into this dance music track, which has a lot of pumping basses and kick drums and parts in the middle and percussion. We want to make this fit in there. So we use now series compression, 3 compressors, and it sounds like overkill, but it really isn't, because each compressor has a role. The first compressor is dealing with the peaks. So the very, very loudest parts, the plosives you might get. The plosives are the P's and B's. That's a plosive, okay? Dealing with when it just snaps really loud. So we've got a ratio set up, a very high ratio, 20. At this point, we set this 1176 to 20 to 1. We have a threshold that's only going to catch, though, just sometimes, meaning that if it gets very loud, this compressor goes into action. Unless it does, the compression will not work from this compressor. The other compressors might still be working, but not this one. This one's only going to catch the very loud peaks. Very sort of fast attack and the slow release, because you really want to slam it if it really gets to the point where it catches. The next compressor is going to be dealing with the mid, the little bit louder than usual sounds, and not necessarily plosives and not necessarily screams, but louder sort of parts of the dynamics. And with this one, we start lowering the ratio. Right now we have like a 4-to-1 ratio, I think, on this one or so. Yeah, about 4-to-1 ratio. And the attack also slows down a bit. You don't want it to be that reactive, that quickly to react. And the release also gets a little shorter. And then the threshold is going to catch a little more often. So it's not going to be set so high that it's not going to catch all the time. Moving on to the third compressor, the third compressor is going to be the LA2A, which is notorious for being a slow-moving kind of vocal compressor. And this one's going to be more or less going all the time, but it's going to be addressing, like the RMS, the average of the levels. And with these 3 compressors, we got a really good reaction, and I was able to show you guys last week how we resampled what was happening in this track with the compression on, and you could see how it evened out all the dynamics here. So this is the same, and I didn't start recording at this point, so we're missing this bit of it. But you see that this part and this part and this part on the top one, there's very much dynamics on it. This is much different than this, for example. But on our resampled part, it's a lot more even. And that's where we ended up. There were some questions last week that maybe I should address about that while I was talking. I think Martin Crockett asked, how much overall dB reduction are you seeking, if any? And I guess it was, I just grabbed it from the chat a little while ago, and I guess that he was referring to the dB reduction here in the in this process that we're doing. So we're the job of a compressor is really gain reduction, right? How much gain reduction? Well, we have to be the judges of that. And in the case of like something that's going to be very a cappella, not meaning and can stay very dynamic, we don't want much gain reduction. But in this case, we want it to be evened out just for the fact that we're trying to fit it into this
backing track that's so massive, like a modern dance music track. This is like a house music track, right? Like a modern house music track is going to want to be is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And if it stays very dynamic, it's going to be hard to fit into the mix. So now, as it stands,
I never thought I could, never thought I him, never thought I cared, I never thought I cared.
fits in really nicely. But there's a lot going on in the background there.
I never hold your hand.
If I turn this off, so this part down here, it'd be hard to hear really. But when I get up to here, on this part, this will be easy to recognize. See, this doesn't need to control the dynamics, but this can live the way it is, but the way this is right now, it's very quiet. So I'm going to have to make a decision of how to present this. Maybe I have to chop it up and start playing with the writing the mix, the vocal level. Which used to be a way that this was managed in the past. But now, today, we're just using 3 compressors in a row, and we have a much better reaction. Okay, so after the compression went on, and there's some more questions. Hold on. Let's see. Simple Sam, do different mic preamps make a difference? And this was a question, I guess, generally speaking, about recording vocals. Let's say hell yes. Different mic preamps can make all the difference. All the difference in the world can be made with preamps, and it's a sad thing to say because it means you have to spend money on these things. Now, there are ways to get around it. You can get yourself into something like Universal Audio. They have their audio interfaces have a system they call Unison, where you can actually kind of apply a preamp to the actual input, and it actually behaves as the preamp that you desire would behave. And this is great because it really gives it that feeling and sound of that preamp. This is a choice that you can make, and if you want to go the UAD route or the Universal Audio route. It's expensive as well, but not as expensive as going out and buying a bunch of different preamps. And the problem is that, every vocalist has to go through like a certain mission. And the mission of this vocalist is usually to find a way to make their vocals present the best. And that means finding the right microphone that fits, finding the right preamp that fits. And that combination of microphone and preamp is going to be some singers go, for a very long time in their career before they actually land upon that. And one of the filters that keep you away from getting to that point is that you don't have exposure to that microphone, a bunch of microphones and a bunch of preamps because they're expensive. You don't know anybody with a studio that can do that. So you just depend on whatever you can. Sometimes budget, is a problem. All the time budget is a problem, right? We get microphones that we can afford, and we buy an audio interface, and that's going to be the preamp for everything we got. So not an easy situation, but if you really are very passionate about your recording of your vocals and maybe other things that you might be recording live, then you might want to spend a good time and money on the right microphones and the right preamps. But yeah, so that's the answer to that question. And Simple Sam also asked today, so if the vocal is dynamic, it is harder to fit in the mix? Of course. I played it for you here without when it's dynamic here, where it's quieter here and much louder here. I played it without the compression, and it was harder to fit in the mix because it was too quiet here and too loud here. And if I made it a little louder, so this part here, I'm not showing you the Ableton part. I'm just talking about this part being very quiet and this part being loud. If I made it loud enough so this part would fit right, then this part would be too loud over here, and vice versa. So, not a good problem, but we got that taken care of with compression. Anyway, so moving forward, let's see, are there any other questions in here? Oh, Max is here. Welcome, Max. So let's say Happy Friday, says Max. So let's go to what we did next. And next, we added some enhansive EQ. And we just did one EQ. I could have done a bunch of EQs, but I grabbed my favorite EQ for vocals, which is the Neve 1073. And once again, I'll show you the difference. The Neve 1073, mind you, look at it, it's just a little bit of high shelf and a little bit of mid that I added. Not much. You wouldn't think that much would be going on with that. But I'll turn it off and I'll show you what happens.
I never thought I loved. I never thought my head.
Life goes away from the recording.
I never thought I could. I never thought I could.
Bring back the Neve.
Never thought I had. Never thought I cared. I never thought I cared. I never thought I had. I never thought I cared.
Look at that. I mean, this is
I never thought I had. So
really nice.
I never thought
I'll take it away again. I'll let you listen to
I
that.
never hoped I must say I never thought I could.
Hear how
I never thought I had.
lifeless it is. And a little bit of
I never hoped
1073
I thought.
brings it all back.
I never thought my head.
Now, that brings me to one more question that Michael Black asked last week, which was, what is another EQ you recommend besides the UAD plugins? So there's, of course, there's, the UAD plugins. The reason I'm grabbing this EQ, this 1073, I like, in the, not only in the UAD plugins, but there are other companies like Waves and Plugin Alliance that make really great EQs. And I'll just name some that are worth your while. Pultec, of course, my favorite for bass, for example. Then I'm really a big fan of the API 500 series, especially the 560, the graphic EQ, and maybe the 550 for drums. It's a very nice asymmetrical EQ, and that you can get from Waves as well as from UAD. There's also MAG EQs. Those are very nice for vocals. They have very nice air that you can play with on vocals. And air is, if you've watched any of my shows, you know that I'm a big proponent of air. Air is just something that we all enjoy. Anyway, then for EQs, other than that, transparent EQs, modern EQs. Of course, you know me. I'm a big lover of the FabFilter Pro Q, and of course, it's the Pro Q3 is the latest version, which is a dynamic EQ. I'm a little mad at FabFilter, by the way, because they won't hook me up with any products anymore. They used to give me their products for demoing to you guys, but now they don't want to. I don't know why. They say they just don't do that anymore. Whatever. Anyway, because of that. Well, not because of that, but this last couple of weeks, amazing new EQ came down the pipe, and I have to just talk to you about it and show you. Maybe I'll do a little more of it in an upcoming show. But let me just really, it is kind of a game changer EQ that has certainly emerged. Every year you get a couple of devices that both in hardware and in plugins that change the game completely. It's a total disruptor. And this time it's this EQ. Let me just pull it up. It's an event-tied EQ. It's called the Split EQ. Let me just drop it in here for you guys to have a look. And it is insanity. I'll just play a little bit of it, this going through it.
Never thought I could.
So
I
it's got a
never
beautiful
thought I
UI
could.
and everything.
Never
But
thought
that's
I
not.
had.
Yes,
Never
Martin
thought I
Crockett,
cared.
event-tied.
I never thought I cared.
he
I
guessed
never
it right.
thought I had. I never had to brain.
So-
I never heard.
By the way, just I need to say this. We have a giveaway this weekend, given away tomorrow on John Selway's show, which, by the way, I'm covering for John tomorrow. So I'll be John Selway tomorrow. Anyway, tomorrow we're going to announce the winner of the giveaway for this week, and it's going to be 200 Ableton bucks. 200 Ableton bucks, meaning you could use the 200 bucks towards Ableton, any Ableton product of your choice or in any way you want. So 200 voucher for 200 Ableton bucks given away tomorrow. No John tomorrow. No John tomorrow. John is I think John is moving, and he had he was a little stressed out with the move, so he asked me if to cover it tomorrow. But we're gonna do some techno tomorrow. If you could see, I have this gear set up. I have preset this up for tomorrow. I'm gonna make some live techno with this gear tomorrow. This is here for tomorrow, not for today. But I figured I'd prepare for both at one time. So yeah, that is an awesome prize, $200. Are you doing some electro? No, it's going to be techno. I leave the electro to John. I'm not going to do electro. I'm going to just let's see what happens. Let's see what happens tomorrow. But anyway, I was talking about this split EQ. The split EQ, every so often, as I said, a concept comes out that really changes things. And in an EQ, the last concept that changed things was dynamic EQ for me. For me, the ability of turning any EQ pattern or point into a bit of a compressor or an expander was wow. Like it was changed everything. But this EQ goes another direction. It lets you EQ transients versus tonals, meaning it lets you EQ the beginning of a sound. The transient is the very beginning of a sound. The transient is like the tip of the beginning where the sound begins to happen. That's the transient. So in a percussive sound, the transients are important because they give you the punch and the snap of a sound. The tonal is the rest of the note, the rest of what's happening in the sound, and this EQ allows for that to happen. And I could even show you a little bit here. I could lower the whole tonal, and these are right now we're just listening to the transients.
I never thought I could.
And I can bring back the tonals.
Never thought I cared.
And that's the whole thing together. And this is just the tonal, no
I
transients.
never had to breathe. I never hold your hand. I never thought I
So,
cared.
Transient
never
and
thought
tonal
I
together
could.
make the whole EQ setup,
never
and you
thought I
kind of line
had
those lines up, and then they're
to.
together. But now
I
you
never thought.
can grab any point that you want and deal with it in the form of hey, I'm gonna turn this one on here, for example, and play with either the raising of the transient or the tonal, lowering the tonal, raising, and just maybe getting a little bit of the punch out of something, or maybe just the body out of something at any part of the EQ. I mean, this is insanity. And at first I thought it would be maybe just a gimmick or something like that. But I started to play with it. Man. So my new recommendation for EQ, and I think it's going to work its way into my mixing and mastering classes, because the implications of this are just beyond control, beyond belief. Already, I was trying to do some mastering with some tracks with this, and man, it just adds so much more reach for what we can do during the mastering process. But not only for the mastering process, but all of it. Anyway, I'm getting off board, but I just wanted to address that Michael Black question about what another EQ I recommend of other than the UAD stuff. So let's get rid of this for now. So, by the way, I love your questions. Keep your questions coming, because with these questions, we can make a connection, and I can get right to your needs. I'm all about getting the needs. Michael Black is very impressed with the Moog, I guess, Moog. Yes, tomorrow, Moog. Anyway, let's keep going. So what we were doing is kind of making we got to the end of what we the recap of what we did last week. So now what are we going to do this week? And I don't know if you've noticed, but right now all the processing we've done has been this kind of I call this in my mixing and mastering classes the kind of initial treatment. Something it's inescapable. You have to go in there and treat for reductive EQ. You have to clean it up, and then you treat for the dynamics management if needed, right? If needed, you treat for dynamic management, and then the next thing you maybe enhance a bit to get a nice starting position with your vocals, so they can now start to do things in your mix. But other than that, in a way, you can still say these vocals are very dry. There's no special effects on them.
I never thought I could.
These effects
Never
are
thought I
special,
had.
but
Never
they're
thought
not
I could. I
delays,
never thought
reverbs,
I
chorus, all
I
sorts
never
of
thought I
doubling.
had.
None
I
of that's
never had
going
to
on.
breathe. I never hold
Let's
your
go
hand.
towards that.
I never thought I his.
Let's start with chorus. So, what is chorus? Chorus is an effect that makes the feeling of it being more than one performance. Meaning, there's one singer now, but now we're going to make it sound like one singer sounds like a chorus of people. That's the idea. Now, how does chorus ever achieve this? Well, chorus achieves it in two different ways. There's only two things that you can play with to make your brain feel like something is thicker or bigger. And they are differences in time and differences in pitch. So let me show you what I mean. So if I have a track, and I'm going to duplicate this track here. Actually, I don't even need to duplicate it. I have this example of the bounce version of what I did. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to take this and maybe level match it to the other one.
I never thought I would. I never thought I
They're
would.
pretty level matched. Let's get that level
I
matching.
never hoped I must.
Perfectly.
See, I never thought I could.
Lower everything a little bit.
I never thought I had.
It's all little.
I never hoped I
I
thought.
didn't want to do that. Sorry, hit the wrong.
I never
And
thought I
A,
had.
and I just make it sound like that.
I never thought I would.
Okay. So I have a copy of the original here, and if I wanted to make this thicker, now here's what I get. I get this a lot, and I have to correct people, and I try to do it very nicely without hurting their feelings. But you wouldn't believe how many times I've gotten the comment that people have like tried to make a vocal thicker by copying it twice and laying it 2 times into the mix. That necessarily it doesn't do anything. All you're doing, if it's the same timing and the same pitch, all you're going to get, meaning it's an exact copy of the other one, what the other one's playing, the only thing you're going to really be getting is a louder vocal. So the amplitude is going to increase. That's all you're going to be doing. So if you're saying, I'll copy something, and that's going to mean it's going to make it thicker. No, it doesn't make it thicker. It just makes it louder. And you could achieve the same thing by just raising the level on it. So don't be fooled by that. But if we were to do different things, like let's play with the delay here. So there's a little delay that we can do on these tracks here. So I could open this up here, and I don't want to confuse you too much. So the ones that we're looking at are going to be this one, and this one. And these I'm going to kind of thin out here. So these are the two. This is the one with the effects, and this is the copy.
Never thought I loved. I never thought my
But if I start delaying this one by some
I
milliseconds,
never thought I could. I never thought I could. Never thought I had. Never thought I cared. I never thought I cared.
you start
I
feeling
never
it a
thought
little
I
different.
had. I never had to break.
Now, what
I
is
never
happening
hold your
there
hand.
is a natural occurrence that happens all the time in nature when when the same sound meets itself a little bit off in time, which is a cone filter. A cone filter is a natural effect that phases out certain parts of the frequencies on each one of those sounds, and it's going to take on a little bit of a different sound to it. Now, having that
Never thought I loved. I never
a little
thought
delayed
I had. I never thought
is a nice thing. Now, but it doesn't necessarily make it thicker. It just gives it a different feeling. But now, what if you could have that delayed sound modulate, meaning move in position ever so gently and slowly over time, like this? So what a modern chorus would do is exactly that. It will take this timing that we've changed here, and let's grab a chorus to do that with. Let's see. Let's grab an Ableton device. See if we can't. Let's see, where are the choruses? I hate all these new folders. I've always been so used to just seeing all the effects there. By the way, we're about the halfway point. You're watching 343 TV. My name is Abe Duque. I'm an instructor at 343 Labs. Come on to our website, 343labs.com. Check out our class schedules. See if you might want to take a class with us. We do everything from production, sound design, mixing, and mastering. We have new classes starting all the time. Come and take a class with me. And, maybe we can do this, back and forth in person, both online and in Berlin or in New York City. Anyway, so here we have a chorus device. And this device is going to be, the rate is going to be how fast it's going to be modulating, do that modulating that I was telling you about. And the amount is going to be, well, how much is going to actually change the modulation. So let's get a lot of modulation.
I never thought my head. I never thought I could.
We're back to zero, but only this one has a little bit of. And actually, I don't even have to do it. I'll just do it on one track because I have a dry wet here. And you hear the movement change. So let me speed up the movement. It's a little weird, right?
I never thought I had.
It's moving too fast it's good, but if I slow down the movement,
I never hoped I must.
The modulation in time is going to change
I never thought I had
to the speed that I set up here.
I never hoped.
And how much modulation? Well, we decide that here. No modulation, no movement. How much is it going to change in time?
I never thought I would.
There's about 52%.
I never thought
1 hertz, that means that it's moving every second.
I never
it's
thought
going
I
back and
can.
forth, 1 time a second.
I never thought I had.
We slow it down a little more. Now it takes about 3.6 seconds to make a whole cycle, and so on. So that's what a chorus does. And it's been a great way to make great things sound thicker, or great recordings, great vocal recordings sound thicker. So let's fold this up a little bit.
I never thought I could.
And
I never thought.
let's grab a classic chorus, because I love the classic gear. So Roland made this chorus called the Dimension D. If you guys have heard it, let me know. It's a very simple device, and it's one of the reasons I love old devices is because what you get with these old devices is simplicity in use. You just put it on, turn it on. If it works, you want it. If you don't, it doesn't work, you don't want it. So I always have a hard time finding it, because there's a UAD version of this just called the Studio D, which is the one that I actually have here authorized for this computer. And yeah, there it is, Studio D chorus. And Tadilla says Arturia has it. Okay, I hope he means the Dimension D, because I know it in UA, in Universal Audio. So this is it right here. It's a chorus. It has 4 settings. You pick one of those 4 settings. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it usually works. It starts light at 1 and more intense at 4. And let's just see what it does. So without it, first.
Never thought I had. I never thought I had. I never thought I loved. I never thought.
And let's add a little bit now of the Dimension D.
I never thought I could. I
Solo it,
never
you
thought
can
I
hear it.
could. Never thought I had. Never thought I cared. I never thought I cared. I never thought I had. I never had to breathe. I never hold your hand.
I'm actually not putting it on the right channel. I got to put it on the right channel for it to work.
I never thought I could.
Here we go. Let's put it on there. Here we go now.
I never thought I had to.
Let's start here.
I never should have wear.
And
I never thought I
oh, look
had.
at that. Just
I never thought I loved.
that's
I
amazing.
Never thought my hair.
That's just the first setting.
I never thought my hair. I never thought I could. I never thought I could. Never thought I had.
Once again, I'll
Never
turn it
thought
off.
I cared. I never thought
And let's
I
go to
cared.
2.
I never thought I had.
Also very nice.
I never had to break. I never hold your hand. I never thought I guess.
That's 3
I never thought I could.
and 4.
I never thought I had.
Most intense one, but it's
I never thought I loved.
it just how much of this sauce do you want is basically the question. How much of the sauce do you want?
I never thought I could. Never thought I had. Never thought I cared. I never thought I cared.
A little bit of sauce,
I never had to break.
a lot of bit of
I never
sauce.
hold your hand.
Now, Delilis is saying overload is good. There's a mode, and I don't know if you can do it with this one, where I could actually in the real one and in some versions of this, you could actually turn on more than one at the same time, so you could just like press them all in at the same time, which is it's something that people used to do also in the 1176 compressors, where you could just press them all in at the same time, and they would give you a more exaggerated version of what's going on here. I'm not sure that I could do it with this one. I might be able to do it with the Roland Dimension D that UAD has, but I don't have it activated in this computer, so. You'll have to just use that. And this is TI80 Mark says saucy. Yes, it is saucy. So let's see. How much of this sauce are we going to use? This is 1.
I never thought I had.
This is 4.
I never thought I loved. I never thought my head. I never thought my head. I never thought I could. I never thought I
That's
could.
beautiful. I'm going to just leave it at 4. I'm just going to eat it up at 4.
Never thought I cared. I never thought I cared.
Hey, if you guys like what you're seeing, give me a like, because I like to impress my friends here. We're trying to get more likes on these videos, and maybe did we get? Oh, look, we're way past 20K. Last week we weren't at 20K yet. Now we're at 20.3K subscribers. Thank you everybody for that. Really, thank you. I'm so happy that we've gone by past 20K. That's a marker. It is. I remember when we first started, we had a couple hundred of subscribers, and we thought we were really doing something great then. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And again, if you can hit the share and share with friends, the notification bell, hit all those buttons. Just don't hit the dislike. Last week I asked for likes, and people started to hit the dislike button. I was like, oh, okay, well, funny, but all right. So this sounds great. Now, let's go on to another talk about more that we can do with vocals. So what happens is that when you process vocals, and this goes for pretty much anything you do in mixing, when you process, the part, there's an initial part of the process that you have to, the work that you have to apply that is inescapable. The reductive EQ, the initial compression, some enhansive stuff, that's inescapable. But after that, all you get is forks in the road. After that, all you have is questions about, do I want this or do I want that? So I said that chorus it does the chorus thing because it takes it moves it away in time, makes a copy, moves it away in time, and back and forth against the original, and gives it this feeling like, it's open. Now, the other thing that some choruses do, and that we can also perform, is we can take, and let's take a chorus off of this, we can take a copy of something, and I'll just duplicate this green one here. We'll use this as kind of cannon fodder. And we'll take that copy and we're working on these two green ones here. And the copy of it, I'm going to pitch a little differently. So by a few cents, I'm going to pitch that one. Now watch what happens when we do that. So here we go.
My head. I never thought my head. I never thought my head. I never thought I could. I never thought I
before,
could. Never thought I had. Never thought I cared.
Now you get a little bit of that phasing that you might have gotten before, but now imagine then if we took that one copy and the other, which is about 5 cents difference, and we hard pan them left and right. Okay, hard panning them left and right. Let's see what happens then. Now listen to this.
Never thought I loved. I never thought my head. I never thought my head.
See how much bigger it sounds?
I never thought I could. I never thought
Let's
I
increase
could.
the amount of
Never thought I had.
difference.
Never thought I cared. I never thought I cared.
Now
I
it's
never
8
thought I
cents
had.
difference.
I never had to break. I never hold your hand. I never thought I could.
Let's do a little more. See how much we can get away with it.
I never thought I had to. I never thought I would.
So you get the idea. The idea is now that pitch variances also add to the sauce of making vocals sound bigger. So we have time variances that we see will increase our brain's perception of the amount of performances happening. Although it's just one, we could fool our brains into thinking there's more than one performance happening. Or we could have pitch differences, which will make our brains also feel like, ooh, especially if we move them to the side. Now, this is a variation on what we might call the Haas effect. It's not exactly the Haas effect. The Haas effect is a little different. The Haas effect is, well, Helmut Haas was this physicist who wrote a paper on the law of first wavefront. And I believe 1953, I think, but don't quote me on that. And the idea was he sort of described the phenomenon that our brains take this interpretation of sound, that when a sound comes from one source but for some reason arrives a few milliseconds first on one side, then the other, we get this feeling in our brains, or this interpretation in our brains of a very big sound. And this is not moving different in time, but it's coming in different pitches, slightly different pitches, which has the same kind of gives us the same kind of reaction in our brain. So let me show you what it would be if I did it not with the pitch, but just with the timing. So in this case, I have.
Never thought I loved.
Just play this again for you. How big it sounds now.
I never thought.
And I'm going to go back to being.
I never thought I could.
Both of them the same pitch. Ready?
I could. Never thought I had. Never thought
Move the pitch away.
I never thought I cared. I never thought I had. I
Okay,
never had
but
to
now,
blame. I
let's
never
take
hold
one
your hand. I never thought I
and
could.
delay it off of the other one.
I never thought I could.
Now you see, let's lower this.
I never thought
It's a little too loud. But you see how big it sounds
I
now?
never thought I would. I never hoped I would.
And then let me bring it back to the same time.
I never thought I could.
See how it comes back to the center?
I never thought I had.
So the Haas effect and the variation that I showed you earlier, which is a pitched variation of the Haas effect, are going to be a way to fool your brain into making you think that this thing is huge. Okay? So this is one of the choices we have. We could apply a bit of the Haas effect with chorus in mind as well. We could chorus first and then Haas effect. Wow, how would that work? Let's see. Let's see if we can get that going. Let's go back to the one that we had earlier here. And remember, tomorrow we give away 200 Ableton bucks on John's show, which tomorrow I will be John. And I will be baking techno with some of the stuff you see in front of me now. So we have the original one here, and I'm going to bring these so you don't get confused. Close them up a bit. And on this one, I have the dimension D, which is really nice the way it sounds. I'm going to throw that already into the rack of things that I've already done to it. And I better turn it on.
I never hoped I thought.
Well, now,
I never thought my head.
let's add a bit of the Haas effect. So there's a simple way of doing this. I could just grab an audio effect like a delay.
I never thought I had to. I never thought I could.
And bring the delay in here.
I never thought I had.
Now, I don't want to have crazy that stuff we're saving for later down the road, but right now we're just trying to add some stuff to still make it sound a bit dry but thicker, right? So I want to put the wet all the way up. I want to change both of these to time. So left and right are going to be time based. Lower them as much as I can. I don't need a filter situation here, and I don't need any feedback. I just need one repeat of what's happening. So now everything is playing, and I can only go 1 millisecond, so I'll have to eat that millisecond. But right now, it's pretty much the same as it was before. There's no difference because left and right are both being delayed by 1 millisecond, and there's no feedback. so you don't feel a delay.
I never hoped I must
But if I take one side
see.
and change it, oh, listen to that now.
I never thought I'd feel.
So now it's huge. It's gotten huge on us.
I never felt my head. I never thought I would. I never thought I had.
This is that.
I
That's.
never thought I can.
I'm gonna throw that into the
I never thought
whole
I had.
chain, and then I'm gonna bring it back and show you what the whole chain is sounding like so far from what it used to sound like.
I never thought I would.
Let's go here where she sings a lot more.
I never should it with. I never thought I had.
That's what we started with.
I never thought my head. I never thought my head.
And over here is a little louder, but it's the
I
same.
never thought I would. I never thought I had.
But back with the chain,
I never thought I can.
sounds
I
nice,
never
thick,
thought I had.
big. I mean, you don't have to make it sound this big. Again, forks in the road. We could say, you know what, this whole kind of Haas effect thing that we've done here, that's cool, but I don't want to do the Billie Eilish thing, you know. I want it to be more kind of appearing traditionally. Vocals may, you know, the main vocals usually appear in the center.
Never thought I had. Never thought I can. I never thought I cared. I never thought I had. I never had.
So TI-80, Mark says, sounds really flat to begin with. So much more lush now. Yep, that's true.
I never thought I could. I never thought I had.
Paul says, could you employ a Haas effect?
I never hoped I would.
I think I did.
Let's
see what else is in here.
I never thought I'd feel.
Okay, some people are joking around in here. Martin Crockett made a Texas Instrument joke. I don't know if I get it.
I never thought I would.
You can pronounce it TI-80 Mark. Okay, TI-80 Mark. I got it. I will, from now on, pronounce it TI-80 Mark. Okay, so very good. So where are we right now? So we're getting to, we still have some time, so we're going to keep going with this. I'm going to dedicate next week's to this as well, but let's start a little bit down the road of thinking about maybe reinforcements or delays or reverbs. You know, we have one take. A lot of the times when we get a take and that's all we have is one take, it could be a problem because, you know, we got to figure out how to make this sound bigger and sound better with just one take, because the truth is that if you have, say, 3 takes of the same, it's much better than ever even thinking of grabbing a chorus. So if you get a singer that can sing it right and perfectly like 3 or 4 times, do it. Don't say, okay, that was a great take, and just stop. If you're recording somebody, say, hey, that was a great take, but let's do it again. And hey, let's do it again, and keep on asking until they get annoyed. And even then ask them for more, because you're going to love having all these different takes. First of all, to choose the best take. And second of all, to maybe use the other takes as a way to add a natural sounding chorus, which would be what you would get from doubling with a second take. Because no matter what you did in the second take is going to always be a little bit different in time. It's always going to be delivered just a bit differently in time, and the pitches are going to be slightly different there as well. So the same thing that we were trying to do artificially happened supernaturally or not supernaturally like a UFO or something, or magic, but it does seem like magic when we try to apply these techniques that we have in the studio, but much quicker and much better and much more natural sounding when you could just double a vocal. When you could just take a vocal, double it. This is amazing. So let's talk about how we can reinforce this vocal. So we have 2 copies here, luckily enough, that I've created of the original. So with those copies, and it's good because they're bounces, and let's keep them kind of even with each other. Let's start the same position. No changes in gain or transposition or even in delay. I'm going to take this one here first. I'm going to start with the first one. And I'm going to lower the gain a bit. And I'll raise it a little later when I try to blend it in. I could do this with the level on the fader. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to transpose it up by an octave. And I'm going to want to be in Complex Pro mode to do this because I wanted to, this is pitching this 12, semitones up. It's a lot to go. But with the formants that I can play with here and the envelopes, I can make it a little more natural sounding. So let's see what that sounds like. Actually, let's just get that gain right where it was before and listen to it in a pitched up way.
I never thought I could, never thought I had.
Let's play with the formants.
I never thought I can, I never thought I had.
So formants can really let you hone in on more natural, not perfectly natural, but more natural sounding pitch changes. So that's better than this that sounds very Mickey Mouse-ish. This sounds a little better. Let's play with the envelope, see if they get a difference.
I never hoped I thought. I never thought I had.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I would.
Okay. Now that we have that,
I never thought I had to.
I can blend this in
I can.
with my original. So let's get
I
that
never thought I had.
and this one together. Okay, where are we? Let's get back here.
I never thought I loved. I never thought my hand. I never thought my hand.
This is really
I never
loud.
thought I could.
This is
I never
just
thought
a
I
little.
could. Never thought I had. Never thought I cared. I never thought I cared.
And now
I
you
never
think,
thought I had.
oh, it's blended in
never
quite
had to
nicely.
breathe.
I
I
don't
never
feel the
watched
difference
your
anymore.
hand.
Well, let's see what
I
happens
never
if I
thought I
take it out.
guessed.
Let's go.
I never thought I could.
See how it just sounds plain
I
again?
never thought I had to. I never thought I would.
And that high one adds that
I never hoped I
just
was.
a little sheen on the top. Let's add a little more.
Say, I never thought I could.
Let's take it out.
I never thought I had to. I never hoped I thought. I never thought my head.
So Enigmatic Onion is asking me to talk a little bit more about formants and how they work versus pitch. So what happens is what a formant is a part of the it's a specialized filter basically that deals with the vocal cavity. So it tries to kind of emulate what's happening in the nose, ear, nose, and throat area where the sound of the voice is. So if you could imagine a formant that's based on the pitch that you're singing is going to be sounding normal. But if you shift the formants and take formants and imagine that means is that maybe you imagine changing the size of my head and making it smaller or bigger. It would change what the pitch of what was coming through it to kind of fit in a different way. And this is what it means to shift formants. Imagine just really literally changing the size of my head from bigger to smaller. That's what shifting formants is all about. So when you have a pitch that sounds kind of Mickey Mouse-ish, and then you start matching it with the right formant setting, it's going to kind of sound a bit more natural. Is what we're going for. Let's try to do that with the low one. Let's do the low one. Let's do one on the low side of things, an octave below. So let's go there with that one. And see what happens with this one.
Never thought I had.
So that sounds weird.
I never thought I could.
So let's do
I
complex.
never thought I had.
See, immediately you
never
change
had
it to
to
complex
brain.
pro. You have
I never hold
My hand.
see
I
how
never thought I could.
changing the size of my head.
I never thought I could.
That's what it is. Changing the size of my head.
Never thought I
So let's
would.
change the size of my
I
head.
never thought my hair. I never thought my hair.
I never thought I could. I never thought
So
I
it
could.
keeps the right
Never
pitch,
thought I had.
but
Never
fits it
thought I
better
cared.
into the.
I never thought I cared. I never thought I had.
And now
I
together
never had
we
to
can play
brag.
those.
I never hold your hand. I never thought I could.
Top one. Lower this a
I
bit.
never thought I could.
You don't want to overpower
I never
them.
thought I had to.
Keep
I
this.
never thought I would. I never hoped I was.
As you can hear, this is the reinforcement that's happening.
I never thought I could. I never thought I had to. I never hoped I
Now it's
found.
a lot. I'm leaving it exaggerated so you can hear it, but normally I really just would do a little bit of this
I
stuff
never thought I would.
just to subtly reinforce
I never
the vocal.
thought I had to. I never thought I can. I never thought I had to.
Let's go back again.
I never thought my head. I never thought my head. I never thought I could. I never thought I could. Never thought I had. Never thought I could.
I'll turn these guys
I
off.
never thought I cared. I never thought I had.
See, it sounds cool with all the stuff we did to it,
I never hold your hand.
but
I never thought I could.
little reinforcement. And these guys here don't even have processing. They don't have chorus on them. I think they had the EQ. They had the initial processing. That's it.
I never thought I would. I never hoped I was.
And as you could see, we got all this stuff done. Once again, what did we do? We always start with reductive EQ. Then we did initial compression. We decide how much dynamic range management we need to make it fit correctly into the mix. And then we add a bit of enhancer EQ. Then we started to play with chorus, pitch, timing differences with copies. We took one, made a copy that went an octave above, one an octave below. We kind of blended those in there to reinforce it. Now, you could do all sorts of other things. I mean, we could discuss adding, I could take a copy. I'll do one quickly. I know we're going over time, but let's go a little bit over time today. I could take another copy of this and I'll change the color on it so that we know it's another copy. Let's get different colors on all these. And this one I'm gonna keep normal, and I'm gonna grab. And now I gotta find where they put the vocoder now, in this new convention here, with the. I guess it would be in pitch. No, not modulators. Oh, here we go. So I could put it in the vocoder.
Never thought I loved.
And this last one, I could just do noise. Add some unvoiced noise. And just blend some of that in there.
I never had to brain. I never hold your hand. I never thought I could. I never thought I could.
Okay, that's exaggerated, but now let's pull back on that.
I never thought I had.
So it adds a little raspiness to
I
it.
never thought I would.
And together with all those other parts,
I never hoped I was.
we can start. So what is this? You know, if you think about it, think about what we were doing. This is, if you've done any synthesis before, right? Any sound design. If you created like a layered synthesizer with like an oscillator and maybe a second oscillator with you know, an octave above, or a third oscillator or an octave below, and then maybe added a noise generator with a little bit of noise on top to give the more kind of raspy detail to the sound. We're working it as a synthesizer here. We're adding noise. What we've done with this vocoder in noise mode here is add some noise to the top of it to just give it this kind of raspy sort of girth that occurs in there now.
Never thought I loved. I never thought my head.
We put all these together in
I
a
never
group,
thought I could. I never thought I could.
and let's turn it off,
Never thought I had. Never thought I can. I never thought I
and then bring
can.
it back.
I never thought I had. I never had to brain.
Once again,
I never hold
we can
your
add a little
hand.
more or a little
Never
less.
thought I could.
And we could keep the game going forever. We could do so many different things that we can imagine. You know, you should be experimenting at this point. You should be like looking for things to try. You know, if you fail, you fail. If you're not, you might end up with something that's the new sound that people might, say, wow, that's that signature sound for that producer. And this is where these things are made. So we've gotten to the point now that that we've dealt with that, but we still have not really addressed any of the stuff that people usually try to add in very early in the mixing process of vocals, which is like reverbs and delays and stuff of that sort. Which is funny because we have no reverb, no delay. If we did, let's see what that would start to sound like.
Never thought I loved.
Just add a little
I
echo
never
here.
thought my head. I never thought my head. I
Okay.
never thought I could.
Let's see a little bit of
I never
delay.
thought I could. Never thought I had. Never thought I cared. I never thought I
Back to
cared.
dry.
I never
Little
thought
reverb.
I had. I never had to break. I never want your
So
hand.
just kind of showing you what we're missing here and what we can still be experimenting with. Now, that sounded kind of cool, but to me it was horrible because next week we're going to go deeper into this part of it. Now how we're going to add some very nice delay, how we're going to add some nice reverb to this whole thing. Anyway, I ran out of time for today. I'm really happy that you guys were able to join me. This is 343 TV. We broadcast every day, or we stream every day at 1 p.m., except for Sundays. Today is Friday. It's my show, the Production Basics show. My name is Abe Duque. I'm an instructor at 343 Labs. Come to our website, 343labs.com. Check out our class schedules. We have a lot of classes happening all the time in Berlin, in New York City, and of course online. Come and take a class with me. We can do this, with your tracks, and I can get to know you, and we can, develop your sound. That's what we're here to do. Once again, thank you for joining me. Don't forget the giveaway tomorrow, 200 Ableton bucks. Tomorrow I'll be covering for John. I'll be John Salway tomorrow on his show. And everybody, have a good day. And I guess that's it. And I could say goodbye now.